So let's paint Esther back into the picture of the Purim story. I mean, obviously, she's the center of the story, but I'm not so sure we appreciate the extent of her importance in the story and the importance overall of the feminine. Whenever, as a literary critic, when we read texts, we always think about representations of gender, how the masculine is represented, how the feminine is represented. So here we're interested, not just from a literary perspective, from just the literary perspective is the perspective of understanding of how is the feminine represented. And certainly in Chazal, in the rabbis, they take every opportunity to represent the culture into which Esther finds herself as one of, I'll say first, toxic masculinity. To me, in a way, Vashti, who is the bad feminine, the reason she's the bad feminine is because she's the daughter of Belshazzar, right? She's part of this horrendous family who have tried to destroy the Jewish people. So the king and Vashti are involved in a kind of human trafficking with all these women that are being kept for Achashverosh. And when Vashti disobeys, as it were, the king says, well, I'm going to take my personal problems out on everybody. Sound familiar? And he makes an edict not only for his household, but for all of the empire, right? Women need to behave. And listen, at the key moment in the Megillah, Mordechai says to Esther, you better do this. And she's like, dude, it's me on the line. She rehearses the rules that maintain in going to Achashverosh's palace, and she understands, she knows perfectly well that going unbidden she will be killed. And Mordechai says, well, this is your opportunity. And I think Esther says in the back of her mind, it's like, chill out, right? I'm thinking. But Mordechai does say, maybe you were born for this moment. And Esther says yes, and this is I think a model for Esther, for all of us from Esther. She says yes, this is the moment, and now she says to Mordechai, Lech Kanos, you go and gather the Jewish people. Later on, it says, and Mordechai followed the commands of Esther. Stop mourning, do something that brings us together on this fast day, whether we're fasting or not. There is the sense, and Esther says, get the Jewish people, bringing them together. When Mordechai and Esther are triumphant, they deliver their words with Divrei Shalom ve'emes. Divrei Shalom is and the Maharal says this, they could have forced people to perform the mitzvot, but they didn't. They had all the power in the world, but they didn't, because forcing people to do things creates machloket. It creates dispute. I'm convinced the Divrei Shalom ve'emes, the Divrei Shalom is Esther, just like it says in Exodus that the language of Beit Yaakov, of the women is different from the language of men. And here, the language of the feminine is when we're in galut, when we're in galus, when we're separated, we have to stick together. Lech Kanos, right? This is the greatest danger to the Jewish people today. And it emanates all from Israel, that we're separating. We've forgotten that we're all us. There are no thems in us. That's Esther. Lech Kanos. Take the moment, grab the moment, but also with gentleness, right? I mean, you can be a strong leader, right? You can be a strong leader, and you can still know how to ask. In fact, maybe that is the definition of a strong leader. Lech Kanos, have a happy Purim.